Hello, 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 Ohioans, Americans. Welcome to The Mediator with me, Brian West, where it is my duty every week to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it throughout the week, so you will not go through your week without being informed, knowing what's going on, knowing what's happening in the world. A lot going on in the news, a lot going on in just not even just the news, but in everybody's day-to-day life. People trying to find some stability, trying to find a calm ball field where you can stand between and understand what's going on each aisle and what's important and what shows will, or what news stories are most probably most pivotal to your day-to-day life. If you want to contribute during the show, you just visit www.method8inc.com, method8inc.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, or just read something, or you can just sponsor a program. I am in the office at 5648 Market Street, Boardman, Ohio, Youngstown, Ohio, 5648 Market Street. I'm there from 10 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, giving services throughout the community, just utilizing my time wisely on this planet. You see a lot of things happening in the news that could disrupt your flow of thinking. Sometimes you may watch something, you may change your feelings on life when you leave out of some place, and you may not feel like you're doing something productive or feel like you're doing something right. But that's what I'm here for, to kind of get you on the level ball field, so you can keep your sanity in a world of just chaos, where you have, even like you see what's happening in the aisles of the United States, where you have these freedoms, freedom of religion, and you see people getting killed, just worshiping their God and what they believe in. It's unbelievable. Let me read the disclaimer of the show. These top 8 stories are only documented for records and to highlight topics for those in the business of talk radio, talk media, and those who just want to stay informed. Now, folks, it's time to get to the top 8. Like I said, if you get anything out of today's show, it will mainly just be like as usual, trying to keep you on and just in between, understanding the difference between right and wrong, and not just that, but just trying to keep your sanity. It's just a lot happening. I mean, you could be things could be perfect one day, and the next thing you know, tomorrow something could change. They're talking about so many different new laws being passed, so many different ideas that are being placed in Congress, so many bills. People are losing loved ones left and right, and it's getting pretty chaotic, and it's getting pretty scary. But if anybody is going to keep you on the level ball field, I'm probably the person to do it. I spend probably every week going through over 250 stories just to prepare for today's show. Just to give you the top 8. So let's get to the top 8. Story number 1. Here comes more saga in the climate change debate. Stay tuned. This story has been in the news quite a bit these past few weeks, and it's continuously catching the attention between protesters, and it's basically giving people the assumption of what to believe about climate change. Folks, there is so much going on in the news right now when it comes to who do you believe, and is climate change real? You know, you have to think when you look at these. I think that what's happening in the big arena of science, religion, and just the average thinker is that people who have a lot of leg in the game are saying that there's something happening to the climate, to the atmosphere, that the patterns of wet weather are changing. This reminds me almost of when the Darwin theory, when they talked about evolution, came up. I think that there are so many spectators, so many people when it comes to the ball field of believing if there is a higher power, and this debate about climate change is staying alive. It's been each week I've seen it in quite a few stories. So they're talking about what's happening underneath the water, new species emerging. They're scaring people. They're using scare tactics, saying that we're going to be around for another 12 years. They have all of these. But you have to ask yourself: Is this factual? You have record-breaking things happening. Like they spent 13.6 billion on solar power in Dubai. It's a solar power project. Then you have all these companies investing in, like, I think Adidas is now creating a recyclable shoe. So even with this Green New Deal, so people are saying that climate change is real and that it's going to affect us in a big type of way. They're even, this climate change material, if you want to call it, or this climate change book is getting so big that it's creating so many different types of it's almost like I was watching I went to the movie theater last night to watch the new movie that just came out, and everybody has a theory about time travel, and that was basically what the movie. I don't want to give the story away. I'll let you go see it yourself. But the new movie that just came out, the superhero movie, but in the ball field of evolution, religion, and climate change, and the world, nobody really has a definite answer because we as human beings have not been here long enough. We don't even we're still finding out about civilizations that were here before us. So people are making these facts, and it's creating riots. It's creating not just riots but protests of people there. And what they're trying to say is now they're trying to get teachers to start teaching about climate change to children at an early age. Now, back in the day, when I was a child, we did have Earth Day. We did have things that taught us about pollution. And then you just had some kids who just don't care. So that's what you probably... And then you have all of this new data, all this new research about asbestos and about... There was even a story that surfaced about Johnson & Johnson. They're starting to believe that some powders are causing ovarian cancer and things like that. So when you look at what's happening in the big arena of just people talking about climate change and talking about the earth is changing, you have to ask yourself at the end of the day, is this just another fad or a fashion that takes place in an era, a time frame? So is it being made up? They're talking about how California restaurants may add a climate change surcharge. They're also talking about how the world's second largest penguin colony is starting to disappear. They're talking about polar bears, and they're talking about livestock, animals that are changing patterns of behavior. So we have to ask ourselves: is this real? Is it just a cycle that happens in Earth? I mentioned this on a few shows back about how back in the day they would have these droughts. They would have and they'd have them in the almanac where there'd be a time frame where the water would be drying up, and then they'd start doing rain dances. So excuse me. Now that we are in this new age of technology, that science is basically ruling everything out. There's no room for thought. And they're starting to find out this about even children, about people's beliefs and how people are becoming radicalized. So you have all of these pools of thought kind of intersecting, and nobody really has a right answer. Nobody has a definite answer. And it's creating so many different ways to teach the next generation that the kids will be unsure of whether climate change is really real or not. You're going to cut off all carbon emissions. You're going to cut off all fossil fuels to energize the population. People report about solar panels that break. They can't replace them. People report about windmills that don't work, that they spend all this money investing in clean energy. The windmills break down. So how are you going to fuel a population? Then you have people who have got filthy rich off of this one topic in general. So the climate change saga is just heating up because we're about to go into another election. And folks, people are getting more and more, they're starting to get that common sense, and they're starting to really guard their pocketbooks because they don't want to invest in these shams. I mean, if it's a sham, if it is really real. Now, I believe in pollution. I believe that pollution is a problem. I believe plastic is a problem. But when you're talking about are the seasons changing, or is something happening to the earth? Maybe it could be. Maybe we could just be going through a cycle. We don't know. But when you talk about man-made climate change ideas and how man can actually scam people into believing some things, there has been so many scam artists who have walked the face of this earth that it has been ridiculous. Some people even say church or religions or something. So that's what I'm saying. When you start getting out of that atmosphere, and you start understanding that there's more going on in the world than what you can actually expect, you could be duped if you don't read or get an understanding. But this story is just, it's just staying in the news about climate change. They have so many stories. There was a story that surfaced in about it's asking, are we losing on climate change? And it's basically comparing the data, basically saying there's actually a war going on between climate change and people who have doubts, and some people some people saying that we're losing. So they feel like there's actually a battlefield going on with climate change. And you get I'm telling you, you get all these thinkers, you get top level scientists, top level investors. They're talking about how Greenland is melting and how it's causing sea levels to rise. Folks, this is creating so much confusion because nobody knows what to believe. They're talking about all of this. I mean, you're talking about sensitivity at its finest, and the whole what to say, traditional way of providing energy is changing. I think even in Ohio there was some stories that surfaced about the nuclear facilities up in Toledo, how they're going to care for the waste. And so when you look at how energy is provided to the masses, folks, you may see these stories changing because they're bringing it into the political arena. And if you haven't been keeping an eye, the political arena is dirty. When it comes to votes, these people will do anything to get a vote. They will cater to, they will tell you things that you will start believing, and you will start thinking that it can be done free. Everything can be free. They'll drop one folks. This is really, and that's story number one. How come? Here comes more saga in the climate change debate. Let's get to story number two. If you want to contribute anyway, you're in the media. It will be Brian West, where it's my supreme duty every week to give you the top 8 headlines, developing news stories that made it throughout the week so you can be informed and know what's going on. I'm having discussions with myself in a room full of air, and I'm looking at the sun shining through, and I'm believing that what I'm doing is for the greater good of humanity, for the greater good of the public, trying to keep you on the right track. I myself, like I said, I do not claim to be a perfect creature, nor does anybody on this planet. But when it comes to common sense thinking, I try to practice it daily. I try to practice a clean life, do the right thing, try to stay in a level ball field. So I'm trying to bring you into that atmosphere. And if you want to contribute in any way or help out or be a part of the media, all you have to do is visit www.method8inc.com, method8inc.com, buy something, click on something, watch something, or just read something. This is radio at its finest, folks. I'm telling you, I'm doing my research, I'm studying, I'm staying in the game. I find stories, I have to find something out of it. Every story is not bad, but you always find something unique about every story that's why I try to share the ones that make the most impact in your day-to-day life. So if you want to contribute anyway or be a part, all you have to do is visit www.method8inc.com, method8inc.com. We will be at the Jewish Community Center on Saturday. From the doors will open at 9. We will start playing basketball at 10, from 10 to 1, and we will probably be out of here by 2 o'clock. So if it's probably open gym is free for kids 18 and under. They can come play for. I think the age caps off at 13. So if they're tall enough, they'll get in just to play ball, just to kind of get off. Just have something to do on a Saturday. If you have kids and you want to bring them to the Jewish community, that'll be next Saturday on the 4th. Open gym, 50-50 basketball is what we call it, for the community to come in. If you've got children who just need to get out of the house, stop on by. It's 505 Gypsy Lane in Youngstown, Ohio. Jewish Community Center. I donate that to the community. I said I take all the hard-earned money that I've worked for my entire life to get back, and I try to put it back into the community. Everything I've done has probably been back into the community. So if you want to come by, we'll be at the Jewish Community Center next Saturday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. We will start playing basketball from 10 to 1. If you got kids or if you want to play, I think it's adults are $8, but for the kids it's free. So we'll be at the Jewish Community Center. If you also, we have a book of the month. The book of the month, Fighting Fit Boxing Workouts, Techniques, and Sparring. It is by Doug Werner, and He basically wrote a book about combos, and if you have somebody who's into boxing, this may be the book. It is actually available on the website. It's called Fighting Fit Boxing Workouts, Techniques, and Sparring. If you have somebody who's really into the sport of boxing, very good book. It talks about in depth. It's illustrated. It has a lot of techniques, a lot of movement. If you know how, if you're trying to train a boxer, if a boxer's trying to learn how to just be a asset to the sport, I would recommend going to the website and purchasing that book. It's by Doug Werner, and it's talking about boxing. Let's get to story number two. Has the government been doing their job, and if not, what happens when they do? So this story surfaced about we're seeing people having different views when it comes to governing. And when you look at this administration, people has many views. We look at how big the government has grown, and we have to ask ourselves: is it the government's fault for doing what government is supposed to do, especially in America? Like, you look at some of these other countries and people are rebelling against their government. You look at what's happening in France, where they're talking about how they have all those donations to build the cathedral, but they don't have enough money to feed the people. So people have had gripes. Me being a former government employee, I know what it takes to do that job. It is a very strenuous job. So we have to ask ourselves at the end of the day. And people are talking about Social Security, about how the funds are being, and you're talking about senior citizens here. So you're talking about taking away from a generation who basically built the foundation. So when we analyze this, we have to look at there's so many things happening within government right now, and we cannot say that the system is either functioning improperly or improperly, because the government has tons of programs. Now, when you talk about getting paid and having a secure good job, I mean, you definitely probably would want to be on a team that's printing out the money. So when you look at the system and you're starting to analyze a lot of these stories, people are trying to analyze is the government functioning properly? But I think what they're failing to do is not if the government is functioning properly, but if the people within the system are functioning, are doing their duties in an ethical manner. And I think that's why there's so many problems surrounding President Trump, is because of the fact that you have a lot of investigations going on within this administration, but we're talking about a base that is riled up but has no clue maybe to understand what actually happened. I guess what I'm trying to say when it comes to this story, especially when I get into some of these things that are some headlines, is that people right now, what's happening in the arena of news and analysts, is that people have found out that there's been government programs that people have been abusing. And they've known that people were abusing these programs for a long time. So it's not that the programs are wrong, but it's that the programs may not be being utilized properly, or if it was an agenda to basically. So there's a lot of different opinions on this topic of government misuse, government programs, and what is actually the right way or proper way. Like, you can go into businesses. Some businesses still don't pay sales tax, or they may not be paying sales tax. So you have all of these different things that are happening within the system but some people are just refusing to pay taxes, period, because they're tired of being taxed. Some people just may not understand the tax system. You may look at properties that have been abandoned in a city somewhere, and you may be wondering where those owners are. So you have all of this happening within just the United States. So you have to ask yourself in this story number 2 is, has the government been doing its job? Or if not, then who has? Or what happens when they do? Is what would happen if the government were as strict as possible? I mean, just extremely strict. I mean, just brutal. Just basically saying that if there was no democracy, everything that the government says goes. We have to ask ourselves this: if we live in a system like that, would this be a representative republic, or would this be a function? So I guess what's happening is that we're seeing so many new rules taking place within this system, or so many different new ideas, that people are starting to now get an interpretation of what government jobs should be, and if there should be more government program, or if there should be taxpayer dollar. So some people are just giving up on the system because they're saying it's been abused too much. Like you're talking about, you have to look at some of these, like some of these NSA programs. They're talking about dropping some of these controversial, excuse me, mass surveillance programs. Then you have Trump announcing the U.S. withdrawal from the UN an arms trade treaty. So the United States has a unique system of governing. So now you're starting to see us to kind of trying to protect some of the laws that we have in place. But the thing is that's happening is that so many laws are being abused. It's like, how do you function? How do you keep the system stable? Even with these college programs, like you look at all of these people who have abused the college system. They're talking about people who have spent millions of dollars to get their kids into high level schools, and it's been unfair for the poor. So they've created all these laws for excuse me, a proper balanced system, and now they're so the effect that this is going to cause when you talk about policies and the changing of the guard here, this is going to take years to patch up, because if people find out that the system has not been fair, just imagine what that's going to do to the new laws being passed. I guess what I'm saying is that the first man is always messing it up for the second man, and you can see it happening. Trump administration puts offshore drilling plans on hold after setbacks in courts. So many new, because of all these new different viewpoints, Green New Deal. So many things are changing, and the government is trying to adapt. Even when you talk about reproductive health care, when you talk about the old school way of health care, health plans, all this stuff is changing because we're in the new tech era. People are things are much faster now with everything being online. Then you have people infiltrating the online market. So the thing is can government keep up, or is government even, or do they just need to redesign the way government works? Are we reaching a different ball field here? So you're starting to see these stories surface about how all of these implementations into law are affecting government. You look at the credit system, the credit rating system, how the banks are starting to understand that some people just had a bad shake, had a bad hand. So this is what's going to determine how this story evolves in the next few weeks, is when we talk about government policy and who has the right policies in 2020 to fit this new generation. So that's what, and like you look at some of the housing laws back in the day about how the baby boomers were able to own land and how they're now retiring, and you see this new generation not wanting to invest in property. So the whole culture of this country is changing. It is. You look at religion, how some people are just turned away from. And now you have all these new ideas. They're talking about universal income, free healthcare, free college. So you have to ask yourself: could this be changing? Could this be changing the way government works, or will government stay the way it's been? And you have tons of new ideas, tons of new policies, but some people just say we need to stick to the traditional way, even with the way some of these politicians are being funded. You look at, there was a story that surfaced, Illinois governor, he's under federal investigation for tax breaks on mansions. And you look at how they're trying to look at Trump talking about adding a citizenship question to the 2020 census because of the fact that there's been so many people abusing the immigration system. So all of these new ideas, now they're talking about homing in on Social Security benefits that senior citizens needed. Senior citizens need Social Security. Disabled veterans need Social Security. People who have, the whole system is going through a complete, thorough, just onlooking. People are looking at this new. People are looking at government, and they're trying to see what works and what doesn't work. And I'm telling you, this Republican base is just tightening. Everything is getting real tight, and they're trying to figure out where every government dollar is going. Now that things are computerized, it's very tough now to either cheat the system or get away with anything. Even with the they're talking about the 2018 election, about how it was such a Democrat surge. The Republicans are talking about tightening the belts on voting. I mean, when you have candidates like Elizabeth Warren talking about erasing most student loan debts, it's going to ring some bells, because some people some people who follow the rules are saying, "Hey, what do I get out of the deal?" So you're seeing these stories surface, and they're centering around government policies and what candidate actually has an accurate plan to get the debt down and to get things evened out. But you have so much going on within the system right now, and you have to ask yourself, is how this happened? The right is blaming most of it on Democrat policies. The left is blaming it most on Republican policies. But the thing is who has the right agenda? What is really at stake in this new form, or this new idea that we have of governing in the system, in this system of freedom and democracy for everybody? Trump says that all countries importing Iranian oil will face sanctions. So you have to look at this, and even how people view this president, view this administration, how he's been able to not really keep a lot of people in his circle because of the way he wants to govern. So we're seeing it. They're even talking about Trump's business deals, and how the court, when you're looking at what's happening, is how Trump has basically been trying to block the court or block Congress from obtaining accounting records from his own business deals, even with his taxes. So you're looking at people even analyzing the power of the presidency. So there's a lot happening in this battle, and we're getting closer and closer to the 2020 election, folks. And you see so much happening within government. Citizens unhappy with where their tax dollars have been going. I mean, you may see a total change in the next few years with how things are done when it comes to government. You may see a lot of people going out to the polls, getting more informed, waking up to what is actually happening on the bigger scale here, because we've seen a lot of years where there just hasn't been anything getting done. There was another story that surfaced about a representative from Congress. I think he says that they want more oversight because of the fact that Trump supporters are people who are opposing Trump are getting uncomfortable with just the fashion and the style of what we've seen. So there's just I'm telling you, there's things happening on each aisle. Experts are saying that the majority of illegal immigrants in the U.S. have been receiving government benefits, and they've been saying that it's been costing taxpayers billions and billions of dollars. I'm telling you, story number 2 is when you talk about the government restructuring, is government working in this new environment? Which government programs need to stay or need to be adjusted? I've always thought Social Security was a great idea for retirees. I think it's a great thing for people who have had their leg in the game, but there's a lot of people who feel cheated. They feel like they have not been given a fair shake, and they want to know why. Some people who are not disabled, who haven't worked. So I'm telling you, seeing a lot of things happening, and there's a grassroots movement going on right now within this level of this level that we're at. We're probably at about level, I would probably say, when it comes to the movement, you're probably seeing we're probably at a level 3 right now. But as the election gets closer and closer, we're probably going to shoot up to probably about a level 10 of people having questions, of wanting to make a government that works. Make policies that work. They want to see. So you're probably going to see, and the people who have got a lot of leg in the game, hardcore taxpayers who have been putting into the system, they want to see results. So I see story number 2 gaining some steam. If you want to contribute, if you want to help out any way you're in the media, it'll be Brian West. All you have to do is visit www.method8inc.com, method80.com, where you could buy something, click on something, watch something, or just read something, or just sponsor a program. It is my supreme duty every week to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it throughout the week so you can stay informed. A lot going on in the news. I should have wet my throat before the show because I'm telling you, I've been dedicated to my slot here to make sure that my audience gets what's happening every week. So if you want to help out, if you want to do anything to just to keep me rolling, show me some support. All you have to do is visit www.method8inc.com, method80.com. Buy something, click on something, watch something, or just read something. I go through over probably 200 to 50 stories a week to just for you, so you can stay informed on what's happening, what's going on in your ballpark, something that may affect you, something you may not know about. So if you want to contribute, all you have to do is visit www.method8inc.com. Buy something, click on something, watch something, or just read something, or you can just sponsor a program. It's not much. You get mentioned on the air and all types of things. If you want to stop by the office, I'm at 5648 Market Street, providing services to the community. Throughout my own life, I've learned a lot. All my own knowledge, providing services. I'm at 5648 Market Street, buying, selling, trading things, and just giving out advice, consulting, all types of things. I'm at 5648 Market Street in Youngstown, Bourbon, Ohio. So if you want to help out anyway, that's all you have to do. Let's get to story number 3. What messages are some entertainers trying to send? I think one thing we failed to realize in this new environment is that entertainers are humans, but they're going through a lot mentally. And there was some stories that surfaced about what's happening behind the cameras, and a lot of entertainers are just struggling because of the fact that they're famous. They have an obligation to meet contracts, and the reason why the story is interesting is because of just the culture in general, is that people have just segmented that group as being a liberal or out of touch with reality, but they have to be creative and they're artists and they have to. So I think what's happening, they were talking about Kanye West's Sunday service. He had this idea at I think it was Coachella, the where a lot of entertainers and designers invest, and they go and they have fun and they watch concerts, they share ideas. So he created this service within the entertainment, and you've noticed how a lot of entertainers have mixed their art with social issues, political issues, and it's really changed the atmosphere. I was talking to Fred, one of the ops here, before he left, about how when I left in probably about 2000 to go into the military and I came back home, how much things had changed because of how the arts had changed. So you look at now some of the clothing that people wear, some of the stuff that they wear, some of the things, the language, the dialect, just how things have changed so much. And I was telling him about the older generation, and even about marriage and some of the things that they used to do back in the day that were considered fun, socially, gatherings, going to the mall, just getting out. And now that we have so much technology and entertainment has, I mean, some of these people are basically on a pedestal. Like they. So if you look at I think in the 80s, like you look at the Michael Jacksons, you look at some of the rock groups, and they were so creative, but they had a belief, and it didn't mingle with the masses. So now you're starting to see entertainers like I think Britney Spears was talking about how hard it is for her to adjust. She's been having some issues, and then you look at the fact that when you look at a rapper saying, having a service like this, it creates headlines and it creates people's different ideas. And then you look at some of these rappers who have lost their lives, and some of them. So you ask yourselves, what message, or is there enough material to get people to understand that it's just entertainment, and they have so many parental discretion advisories. I mean, all this stuff. But you when you look at the battle that's always been waged, you have to ask yourself: are we keeping a common ground? Are we, if this stuff is fiction or nonfiction? are the level of regulations, or are they really doing their job? Because a lot of damage, I wouldn't say damage, but I think when it comes to the arts, a lot of people have just lost the appreciation. I have tons of art. I have artists come to me all the time trying to find a way to enhance their career, finding a way to help themselves out, and it's very, very tough for me to guide them in the right direction, because a lot of them feel like they have to do drugs, or they have to do everything. So I think there's just a lot of things happening, and then I have to explain to them. I have to say, you're representing a United States culture that you could probably possibly be well known all over the world. So when we analyze the entertainment arena, especially from back in the really conservative, hardcore conservative days till now, how things have just become completely liberated. I mean, nothing is really censored anymore, and kids are watching whatever they want to watch. We have to ask ourselves: is this changing the respect that people have for entertainers, or is there just some? I mean, you're talking about they're mixing a lot of. I mean, they're mixing Egyptian culture with entertainment. They're mixing just a lot of different faiths, a lot of different religions. I mean, a lot of different material. They're doing everything that they can to keep the audience entertained. So, very, very interesting topic. I'm sure it continues to be analyzed on YouTube. You're talking about entertainers saying that they've sold their souls. I mean, all different types of materials. People who just don't have a normal life. Their lives are changing. They put out one bad album, and it's tougher. So it's just a lot going on. But it's tough when you have children who want to be like these entertainers. They want to flourish. They want to be successful, and they want to make a career out of it. It's really tough to coach them because of the fact that they feel like everything has to be done in one day, and but entertainment is a very expensive career. I think there probably needs to be more emphasis shine on the fact that the next generation is looking, and they're trying to be as successful as other entertainers, and it's a ball field. I'm telling you that right now. If you want to contribute anyway, you're on the media. That was story number 3. The entertainment ball field made it in. It was I've seen quite a few stories surfacing about entertainers and what they're going through. Even some football players. Some stuff that I see surfacing, and really, really, really interesting topic. So if you want to help out, if you want to contribute during the show, if you just tuned in, you're in the media with me, Brian West, where it is my supreme duty every week to give you the top 8 headlines developing news stories that made it throughout the week. If you want to contribute, anyway, you have to do is visit www.method8inc.com, method8inc.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, or just read something. Look at the story number 4 really fast. Story number 4. Who is behind the stories? The media has been center stage. If you ever listen to Rush Limbaugh, he always makes this comment about the media being the drive-by media, and they're always people. You've listened to this administration. He's made the media the center of attention. They're talking about social media. They're talking about all of these different avenues that the media takes to get a story. But I think the reality is the reason why this story is so important is because the media plays a big part in a lot of people's day-to-day activity, day-to-day lives. If it were not for the media, a lot of what we see happening in the world would not be center stage. A lot of scandals would not be made to light. But when I think what makes this story so interesting is the fact that people have this idea. If people have the idea that I guess what we have to ask ourselves is the media doing good things, or are they causing more problems? And it's not the media, but when we have like social media, and they're talking about how some of these people who are committing hate crimes are surfacing online. There was a story that was surfacing about a Muslim scholar. She was weighing in on why the media didn't call Sri Lanka an attack on Christians. So I think to simplify this is that the reason why this story is gaining a little bit of steam is because people are viewing the media in a lot of different fashions right now. And when you have the commander-in-chief shooting out that the media is fake news, and that it really and this story was kind of dying down, but I mean, it's been creating a lot of attention on the stories that the media chooses, or the stories that they choose to cover. So people are starting to become, I think everybody is almost starting to become a journalist. So you're starting to see all these new different stories, stories about things that you wouldn't normally hear about, topics that you wouldn't normally hear about. People are saying that these topics need to be covered because this is the stem or the root of how these stories become bigger, or they develop even to bigger stories. And that's why I've always tried to home in on the stories that are surfacing, the developing stories, so people can see how they grow. And you look at how the media, the view of the media, or why the media is center stage in this new democracy lab that we live in, is because they're releasing a lot of information that a lot of people are starting to fact check more and more. Like, even you're hearing a lot of, even when you talk about foreign invaders, when they're talking about infiltrating social media sites, or putting out different types of stories to alter people's thinking in the wrong direction. So you'll probably see a lot of different stories. Don't ask me where, but don't ask me why. This is becoming a big thing now. The media has been a pusher of a lot of information for years, and this story is really starting to surface. It's really starting to gain some steam because of the fact that it's affecting the voting. It's affecting the people's decisions. And some people are saying that the media has been owned by Democrats. Some people are saying that even the news organizations, how the stories are chosen, how the media, how their personnel are being trained. So there's a little bit of a analysis going on within the freedom of the press right now. And you have to ask yourself, what would the world be like if journalists did not go in and get the stories, or get the scoop of what is actually going on? So I think the media kind of balances things out, but this story may gain some steam in the next few weeks. If you want to contribute anyway, you're the mediator. I am struggling with these sinuses up here up north. The sun is out and the seasons are changing, and I'm telling you, these sinuses are eating me up, but I'm getting through it. If you want to contribute anywhere, all I do is visit www.method8inc.com, method8inc.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, or just read something. I'm trying to breeze through the stories real quick. A lot going on in the news, so I have to kind of approach these stories from a careful standpoint, because I have to make sure you stay in the right direction, that you stay in the right lane, that you don't go too far to the left or go too far to the right, but just get the story, get an understanding of it, and then talk about it, but don't get all crazy about it. Don't start blowing things up. So my duty is much more supreme than that. I try to stay in the middle. I try to just keep the story for what it is, and give you, so you can think for yourself. I don't want to argue, don't want to get in a debate, but tell you what's happening, keep you informed, and that's my duty. So if you want to contribute anyway, all I have to do is visit www.method8inc.com, method8inc.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, or just read something. Story number 5, the price of winning and how few make it out 100%. We're about to approach the Memorial Day season, and we're starting to see a lot of sports fans understand the price of winning. And one thing you'll probably notice about this Memorial Day season is that there are a lot of veterans who do not make it out 100%. They do not get out. Even not just veterans, but people who are involved with athletics, or just many things. I think they're trying to analyze the VA, and is the VA doing what they can for veterans? I think they're trying to see if veterans should be able to choose their healthcare provider. So there's a lot of the center of attention is still homing in on if veterans are getting the proper care. But I guess the main thing is this Memorial Day season is if you could find some way to continue to keep these memories intact of what veterans have done for this country, and kind of stay away from the politics. Is a very personal matter, but a lot going on. And when it comes to sports, they're talking about a lot of athletes are getting frustrated with. I think Tyreek Hill had a story surfaced about him and his wife and his children, and a lot of athletes I think they're just getting frustrated. You see it constantly where they're getting frustrated with the media, and they're getting frustrated with the way they're being zoomed in on and their lifestyle, and it's creating a lot of buzz. But these stories are surfacing, and they're relating to the fact that people, when you take on that journey, the workroom floor, and you take on the journey of sports, you take on the journey of being an athlete. When you use your body for the greater good of the public, it can really cause a lot of problems in these stories. The reason why that story got bumped to number 5 is because we're getting so close to the veteran to Memorial Day, and the fact that a lot of veterans do not make it out 100%. I was just telling Fred how I was just lucky to get my creativity back. I was down in the dumps for a while there when I first got out, but I stayed with my level of treatments. Got back into it, and I got well. I mean, a lot of veterans, I just try every day to just keep. I mean, some of them lose their limbs, so that's so say it's always good to keep those memories intact, and don't forget what the price of freedom really entails. And these people are on the battlefield every day. Let's get to story number 6. If you want to contribute any way, you're in the media with me, Brian West. All you have to do is visit METHOD, the number 8, INC.com, method80.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, or just read something. Story number 6. Hard work has a lot to do with the economy. So who is pulling their weight, really? If you do not know, the economy is seeing a 3.2% growth. And but a lot of people are really confused. There's just so much confusion going on about the economy right now, and what is actually fueling the economy, and what is actually fueling what is actually making the economy great. But a lot of people are working very, very hard to keep this thing afloat, and I think you'll probably see more attention zooming in on that story. Let's get to the top 2 stories real quick before we get out of here. Story number 6, like I said, just zooming in on the workforce and who is actually making the economy work. You'll probably see a lot of attention in the media centering in around that topic, because the president, you see a lot, his administration taking credit, but there's probably really more happening on the ground level. And I think you'll probably see more analysts going in and seeing what's actually happening on the workroom floor and who is actually contributing. Let's get to the top 2 stories that made it in this week. If you want to contribute anyway, METHOD, the number 8, INC.com, method80.com. We're at the 10-minute mark. You're on the media with me, Brian West, where it's my supreme duty every week to give you the top 8 headlines developing news stories. The top 2 stories that made it in. Like I said, if you want to contribute, METHOD, the number 8, INC.com, method80.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, or just read something. Story number 7. How do average people become radicalized? And is there an underground religious war being waged? We have to ask ourselves that question as you see stories surfacing like people attacking synagogues, Christianity. I have always believed that people have a right to worship. They have a right to worship God, and if they want to worship God, there should not be any. If they're not bothering you, I've seen people's worship do some miraculous things, and I've seen it change a lot of people's lives. But there are stories that are surfacing about like 157 children being trafficked, some of them being rescued. Global efforts are just when you talk about there are global efforts to try to stop the spread of radicalization. These people are being radicalized. I mean, you talk about suicide bombers, all different types of stories surfacing about religion and how people are being turned. There was a story about an Israel soldier who shot a blindfolded Palestinian. Folks, religion in general is causing a lot of I think it's good for the soul and the spirit, but when people cannot coexist, it causes a lot of problems. When you see these mass shootings and you do not know what's happening, and you talk about how some of these guys mastermind some of these terrorist plots, and it is causing a lot of problems. People are finding and selling weapons online. They're going to commit genocides. I mean, this is probably this story is probably going to gain some steam. It's in the top 2 this week. But when it comes to religion and the massacre, I mean, it is outside of this country. Hate crimes happen a lot, and some of these stories are probably never reported. Some of them never even told until after the fact. The fact is that there are some underground things happening when it comes to religious people's beliefs and how people are becoming radicalized. Some people say that too much radio, too much of the echo chamber, too much of right-wing media, too much of left-wing media is not good for the human brain. And if you don't believe me, I'm telling you, you get to into some of these people's beliefs and what they believe and how they believe and why they take their action out on people who are doing nothing to them. It's unbelievable. Killing innocent people to start racial wars. Folks, this is, I mean, if you want to get to the dirt and griminess of it, folks, this is reality. So you'll probably see more attention in the media and in the news about how people are becoming radicalized. This is story number 7, one of the top stories. Let's get to the top story that made it to the media this week. If you want to contribute anyway, all you have to do is visit www.method8inc.com, method8inc.com. I thank you for sticking with me through this sinus. I'm telling you, these sinuses are rough up here up north. It's a sunny day, but the seasons are changing, and a lot of people are battling with sinuses. I've been taking as much nasal spray as possible, but every week I've had to come in here and battle it out. But I'm giving it a go. I refuse to stay silent. I refuse to not do my duties, and that's give you the top 8 stories that made it throughout the week. Let's get to story number 8. If you want to contribute anyway, METHOD, the number 8, INC.com, method8inc.com. The top story that made it in this week: money, hate, crimes, drugs, and the woes of being the boss. How are you yourself leading? Folks, ISIS flags, explosives found in Sri Lanka. People are now living in pods. Majority of Americans believe that drug companies should be held responsible for the opioid crisis. Visas between the U.S. and China are becoming a problem because of spying. The internet has been cut down for a year in Chad. Russia meeting with Kim Jong-un from North Korea. Russian companies' secret plan to quell protest. Folks, there is a lot going on in the world. French protesters not happy with their leaders and what plans they have made when they're talking about rebuilding the Notre Dame Cathedral. 85,000 cops have been investigated for misconduct. Massachusetts judge who helped illegal immigrant escape ICE arrest has been indicted. What can we say about all of this, folks, especially when you talk about all of this balled up into one top story about where we're headed when we talk about keeping, and then the leaders that have to try to keep these things intact? How do they keep their sanity? U.S. militia, where there has been some militia reported bringing immigrants across the border. A 3-year-old boy found crying alone at the U.S. border. And then there was a group that was training to assassinate former President Obama. 2020 candidates pushing for pot legalization on the campaign trail. Folks, things have changed. Things have changed quite a bit. And those are our top 8 stories. Some local stories that made it in. Youngstown Commission chooses Jennings to replace CEO Chris Mohip. The bill seeks to delay teen driver's license. Renewal levy on the ballot for now schools. Fires on East Side brings more attention to fire awareness. Folks, there is a lot, let me repeat myself, a lot going on in the world. And if you make one thing certain this year, or just throughout your day-to-day activity, it's to try and stay informed. Try to know what's happening. You have kids, you have children, and there's just so much happening within the news, within our everyday lives that are changing how we're doing business, how we're functioning in government. The government plays a big part of that. Like I said, in story number 8, you probably seen a lot of headlines that are changing our course of thinking, making us less trustful of our fellow man, of our fellow citizens. And it's creating, you have to think, probably years ago there were all types of hate crimes, but people were probably trying to be on a level ball field. People were trying to progress. But right now, everybody's trying to make a buck. Everybody's trying to stay ahead. But the main thing is that we try to stay united. If you got anything out of today's show, I hope you listen to that one concept. We have to be united as a nation, and we have to stick together and try to make this thing work. I pray for the families who have lost loved ones, especially in hate crimes. And I want to thank you so much for tuning in this week to The Mediator with me, Brian West. I am out of here. Have a good week, everybody. Thank you for tuning to The Mediator with me, Brian West. I'm steering you in the right direction. I'm gone. Have a good week, everybody.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.